The hangar looked like a movie set, a white private jet, smooth as if it had been drawn by hand, lights reflecting off the fuselage, the smell of jet fuel mixed with expensive cologne. Near the stairs to the plane, a group of rich men in suits laughed loudly, champagne flutes in hand, making jokes about everything and everyone that passed by. Outside, near the gate, a man in torn clothes watched in silence. His beard was overgrown, his hair messy, his sneakers ripped, his jacket way past its best days. To some, he was just another homeless man polluting the scene. To him, that place was a painful echo of who he used to be. One of the millionaires noticed him, pointed with his chin and said, "Look at that. Even the airport is accepting extras from the streets now." Laughter came fast. And that's when he had his brilliant idea. "Hey, you! Come here!" he shouted, calling the ragged man over. "If you can fly this airplane, it's yours." Everyone laughed like it was the best joke of the night. They had no idea. They had just poked a sleeping piece of the sky. The man walked slowly toward the group, fully aware of every disgusted look he got. He smelled like clothes without showers, days without a bed, nights on cold concrete. He stopped a few steps away from the millionaire leading the scene, a tanned guy in an expensive suit, wearing a watch that shone brighter than any star. "What's your name, my friend?" the millionaire asked in a theatrical tone. "Elijah," he answered, voice rough but steady. The laughter came again. "So, Elijah, do you at least know the difference between an airplane and a bus?" Another joked, pulling more laughs from the group. Elijah looked at the jet, and for a second his eyes were not the eyes of a homeless man. They were the eyes of someone who had lived in that cockpit, nights in open sky, city lights far below, the radio hissing, air traffic controllers in different accents. He swallowed hard as memories rose like turbulence. Before he was the guy from the street, Elijah had been a captain, airline pilot, thousands of hours of flight time, respected by crew and passengers, until his world collapsed, not because of an accident, but because of betrayal. A businessman nephew convinced the family to invest together, using Elijah's name as collateral. A signature, another there, just a favor for your nephew uncle. When the bomb exploded, debts, loans, fraud, it was all in Elijah's name. He lost the house, the car, his license, his reputation. The family vanished. His last name turned into a kind of accusation. With the ground ripped out from under him, he fell fast. Odd jobs, bad habits, nights in shelters, others on the street. The sky, which once was his address, became only a memory. Now, standing in front of that jet and those laughs, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Anger, mixed with longing. "So, Elijah, do you accept the challenge?" The millionaire pushed. "If you can get this plane off the ground, it's yours. Rich man's word." "And if I do it?" Elijah asked, staring straight into his eyes. "Then you take this toy home." The man opened his arms, playing to the audience. "But if you can't, you go back to your sidewalk." More laughter. Elijah took a deep breath. He had nothing to lose. The sky once had been his. "Open the door," he said. "Let's see if I still remember where the sky is." The stairs were lowered with a metallic clank. Some employees looked uncomfortable, but no one dared question the boss. The millionaire went up behind Elijah, still laughing, still recording stories on his phone. "Guys, the cardboard pilot is taking over. Look at this. Get ready for tomorrow's news." Inside the cockpit, Elijah stopped. His fingers trembled for a moment, not from fear, but from recognition. A digital panel, throttles, radios, more modern than the ones he used to fly, but the logic was the same. The cockpit might have changed color, but the sky outside was the same. He ran his hand across the panel like someone greeting an old friend. "Been a long time." The millionaire joked from behind. "What are you looking for?" "The air conditioning button." Elijah sat in the left seat, adjusted the chair, pulled the belts around him. Some habits the body remembered on its own. He closed his eyes for a moment, as if searching for a manual in some inner drawer. When he opened them, his posture was different. You really have flown before, haven't you? The company's young co-pilot murmured, sitting in the right seat, just to be safe. A few hours, Elijah replied dryly. He started configuring the panel, asking quickly for information about the model, start procedure, parameters. In a few minutes the jet was powered, screens glowing, systems being tested. Outside, the guests who had laughed before now watched with the uncomfortable curiosity of people who begin to suspect the joke might be on them. The millionaire still tried to keep his tone. Relax, Captain. It's just for show. Elijah called the tower on the radio with the accent of someone who had spoken to 100 different control centers. The reply came clear and professional. He understood every word. The ground crew exchanged glances. This was not improvisation. Engines started, a deep sound filling the hangar. The plane began to roll slowly. Outside, the crowd's laughter faded into silence and raised phones pointing at the runway. At the threshold, Elijah held the yoke, looked at the horizon and whispered so quietly it was almost a prayer. I'm going home now. Throttle forward. The aircraft rushed down the runway. The side scenery turned into blur. Some people yelled by reflex when the wheels left the ground, but for Elijah it felt like walking back through his front door. The jet climbed smoothly, no jerks. A soft turn, lining up with the coast, the late afternoon light slicing through the clouds. Down below, the millionaire who wanted to watch a disaster could only stare, speechless, at the man he had called a bum. After a few minutes in the air, Elijah leveled off, everything steady, as if he'd never stopped flying. He glanced at the co-pilot, who was staring at him wide-eyed. "You were a pilot," the young man said. "Not just any pilot. You fly like someone who lived in here." "I did," Elijah answered, "until they stole my wings on the ground." The landing was so perfect even the jet's silence seemed to show respect for Elijah. They rolled back toward the hangar, engines powering down, the smell of hot metal in the air. When the door opened, the group of millionaires no longer had the same posture. They weren't a pack of masters of the universe waiting to watch someone crash and burn. They were just a bunch of rich people with nothing to say. Elijah walked down slowly, head held high. Same torn jacket, same worn-out sneakers. But something in him had changed. The lead millionaire forced a smile. "Well, I had no idea you actually knew how to—" "Fly," Elijah finished. "Yeah. You people never have any idea what we know, only what we wear." The words hung heavy in the air. "Listen, that thing about if you can fly it, the plane is yours. That was a joke, you understand, right?" The man tried to soften it. "There's paperwork, contracts, insurance. It's not that simple." Elijah let out a short laugh. "I spent a long time believing other people's word. That's how I lost everything. I don't need your plane." That left the millionaire off balance. "So, what do you want then?" Elijah looked around. Maintenance workers, mechanics, regular staff watching him with respect. He looked at the jet, at the sky beyond it, at his own shabby jacket. "I want two things," he said. "First, a shower, a real one. Then, a chance." "What kind of chance?" "I don't need you to hand me this jet. But you just saw me do what a lot of the people you pay still don't know how to do with this kind of calm. Use your influence. Help me get back in the air. The rest, I'll handle." The millionaire stayed quiet for a few seconds. For the first time, he looked at Elijah not from above, but eye to eye. "I've got friends at 2 air taxi companies, and I know someone at an executive charter service," he said. "If I set up a meeting, will you go?" "If I've had that shower, I'll go," Elijah replied, half serious, half joking. Some staff members laughed, this time not at him, but with him. In the following days, the millionaire did what he'd promised. A shower, clean clothes, barber, medical exams, license renewal, nothing came for free. Elijah still had to prove his skill, his hours, go through tests and simulators. But the door that would have stayed locked forever, was unlocked that night in the hangar, on the night they laughed at him thinking they'd laugh forever. Months later, Elijah no longer slept under awnings. He still slept little, sure. But now in hotels, between one flight and the next, the sidewalk was behind him, along with the last name that had been dragged through the mud by his family, now slowly regaining its respect. The same millionaire who once offered a jet as a joke started talking about him differently. See that captain there? One day I thought he was just a homeless guy. He's the one who taught me that the worst turbulence isn't in the sky. It's in the prejudice we carry inside. Elijah learned in the cruelest way that a fall doesn't always come from the sky. Sometimes it comes from the signature you give to someone you call family, from the trust me of people who only see in you what they can use and throw away. When everything collapsed, the world stuck a label on him that a lot of people know too well. Failure, problem, extra weight on the sidewalk, but the sky doesn't forget who has already crossed it. The body rusts, the clothes tear, the address changes, yet what you truly know how to do, what you built with discipline and sweat, stays stored somewhere between memory and instinct. That night, when a bored millionaire thought it would be funny to humiliate the bum by the gate, he didn't know he was, by accident, opening the door of a hangar Elijah thought he had lost forever. Maybe you've also been treated as nothing because of your clothes, your smell, or the moment you're living in. Maybe right now you're on the ground, hearing people point and say, if you were really good, you wouldn't be there. But there's one thing no one can steal, what you already know, the story you carry, the skill that's asleep, just waiting for the first serious opportunity to come back to life. If Elijah's story stirred something inside you, write in the comments. Rock bottom doesn't erase what I know. Like this video, subscribe to Unstoppable Underrated, and share it with someone the world decided to see only as a failure, without imagining the pilot hidden behind the torn clothes.